Hi, my name is Riley Tagatz, and I'm happy to kick off the first edition of InVision, a monthly podcast hosted by Vision Center, which is the leadership development for aging services. Vision Center partners with universities, senior care, and aging service providers, support associations, and business partners to advance the field of senior living leadership to students nationwide. I am passionate about senior living leadership and excited to work with Vision Center as a student research assistant to further my knowledge in the field. I have a bachelor's degree in healthcare administration, as well as finishing up my master's in healthcare administration, both from Western Kentucky University. This podcast will provide regular inspiration and guidance to students interested in pursuing a career in senior living leadership, especially those working to become a licensed nursing home administrator or healthcare executive. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Trenton Klein. Trenton graduated from Brigham Young University with a Bachelor of Science in Business Operations Management and a certificate in Human Resources Management. Before his final semester of college, Trenton completed a senior living management internship at Trillium Woods, an LCS community in Plymouth, Minnesota. Upon graduation, Trenton applied for and was extended an offer to work in LCS's professional development program as an administrator in training. Trenton was assigned to complete his AIT program at Marquette, a retirement community in his home state of Indiana, and was recently assigned to fill in as an interim administrator at another LCS community in Lubbock, Texas. Together, we will explore what it takes to navigate the steps to become an administrator. Okay, so my first question. What interested you in working in senior living?
I my interest in senior living, I think, was dual. There were two fronts to it. First and foremost, as I'm sure you and almost anybody else that we ask this question to would agree, senior living is probably amongst the most passion inherent industries to work in, right? I
Mhm.
mean, passion's an individual matter, like whatever you're interested in, whatever, drives you. But at the same time, I feel like it's almost an innate desire to serve people. And we get to do that every day,
Mhm.
right? The individuals that we serve, they've lived rich lives and they don't come to us to stop that. They come to us to enhance that. So every day, knowing this industry provides me that opportunity was just foundational to my interest. And the second thing, and obviously we'll probably talk more about this throughout the conversation. It's kind of the purpose behind Vision Center a little bit. I was fortunate enough to have a family member, my father, who worked in senior living, so I understood a little bit more about the career opportunities available, right? And understanding the significant growth that's going to take place. So, passion on one hand, but career opportunities on the other kind of came together and formed a hidden gem for me.
I like that. What changes have you seen in the senior living industry throughout your career this far?
Obviously, first, just to acknowledge my career is relatively young. So I probably won't have the same answer, or certainly won't have the same answer as someone who's been in for, a decade or so. But I I can certainly speak to at least one difference that I've noticed, and that's one that's exciting to me is the use of technology and the adopting of technology in rice application in technology. I'm guessing a senior living what comes to their mind, right? Maybe thinking about robotic referees or you know whatever new technology in dining there is. But if you look at senior living, I mean, we're talking about robotic servers, integrated community applications, and so much more technology that we could be implementing, actively seeking, right? And that's exciting. I mean, as individuals who grew up with technology at the forefront of our education and just in hands time, it's really cool to see AI start in these communities and just to be a part of it. So that's probably the most major change that I've seen.
Sorry. Let's see. How impactful do you feel that your field experience has been through your internship and now the PDP program?
Say for me, they've both been impactful, incredibly impactful, in different ways, right? My internship, I came into knowing that I was interested in the field and knowing that there was something here that was valuable and meant something to me. I didn't understand to the fullest extent what it meant to me until I got into my internship and really fell in love with the industry. That's what my internship did for me. And every day I was able to interact with new residents. And that's not necessarily your job as a senior living management intern. Your job's to learn the nuances of the community and the business side of it, and as much of it really as possible to learn how it operates and to contribute to it operating. But along the way, you can't do that effectively if you don't know the residents. So I had the pleasure of getting to know them and falling in love with the effect that I have on them. And then, we had a professional development program member on campus at the time as well. And she talked to me at the program that it didn't but she can it was a good opportunity. I applied and was accepted to LCS's professional development program. And this program has been probably as impactful as I could have hoped for it to be, maybe even more. Just of the knowledge bank I've been able to build. I I didn't have a lot of the common misconceptions that are senior living by virtue of my connection to the field. Um, but the same, I wasn't fully aware of everything that was available to us, right? I wasn't aware or this of the extent to which I could use my business operations background, which is something I'm passionate about and love as well, while also being hands-on with residents, also learning about the ins and outs of a dining industry, all central to what we do. To me, it's been impactful in those ways.
I like that. So with that being said, what do you think that your end goal is like throughout the rest of your career since you are like towards the beginning? Like, do you want to do more senior living management or is there anything else in the field that you'd be interested in doing?
If I had a broader array of talents, I might answer this differently, because the technology aspect is so interesting, and fortunately, that part of the field is in good hands, and I have no doubt that as senior living continues to expand its efforts, expand its reach, that it'll continue to be in good hands. So for me, knowing that operations and management side of things where I thrive, I definitely am excited to go down this career path. LCS and these are big companies or other companies in general are running for us great opportunities that easy but clear paths for growth. And that's what I'm excited for, right? I'm an administrator right now, or an interim administrator after having been an intern and then an administrator in training. I'll be an administrator here soon. And then the goal is to be an executive director one day and to potentially see what happens after that. Not entirely sure, but I have my sights set high and I'm excited to continue down the operation.
Maybe become managing like a bunch of communities like a Dom or something.
Right? Yeah, we have some incredible people. That's a high standard to live up to
Mm-hmm.
with some of those people that we know fill those roles.
Yeah. Let me see here. What would you say is the best lesson that you've learned through your experiences?
Good question. I think when I think about opportunities or lessons that I've learned in my experiences, most of them will revolve around what I've learned as a leader, right? I think that the most impactful thing that I've learned is that you can is over people, right? We all, as anybody in any to do a job and to drive certain key performance indicators, KPIs, and that's true, and it's good, and it's going anywhere. But I think that a lot of people, and especially young people who are ambitious get into leadership and they think more along the lines of how do I make this number go up, right? Or how do I pull this number back down? And therefore don't give sufficient air to the thought of how can I help and empower highest capability, right? And people perform to their highest capabilities when you show that you'll listen to them, when you show that you're interested in their growth and their potential. And I've noticed in my experience that there is a balance in everything. So I'm certainly not endorsing the idea of tossing KPIs out the window and neglecting your organization in that way. But I'm also 100% advocating for leaders to be more intentional about their investment in the people who drive those indicators, because they do we obviously have a role, but they do the hard work. And um, that's what has been most valuable in terms of lessons for me.
Where do you see the future of senior living going? Like, especially in the capacity of all the baby boomers that are coming.
Uh, that's exciting,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I don't know how many presentations you've sat through about the baby boomer generation and
Mm-hmm.
the silver tsunami, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as someone yourself who's coming into the field, how exciting is it to see the growth that is on the
It
horizon,
really
right?
is. It really is. I'm a little bit worried though with all the staffing and how they need a lot more communities. But other than that, it's really exciting.
Right? Exactly. We're both familiar with the idea that in the next couple of decades, maybe even 3, 4 decades, the demand for our product and for our communities will double or more, right? And you touched on a really key thing, the staffing, right? We're familiar with it and we hear it all the time, and it's so true and it really hurts. But um, I I think that young people coming in, the individuals that are seasoned veterans, they all combine. I think there's a lot of tension right now that I work visions, the programs that we are
Hey,
training,
real
putting
quick,
more
Trenton,
emphasis on garnishing.
one second, your answer just cut out. I don't know
Oh,
why.
okay, yeah.
Give me 1 second. Okay, it should be fixed now. So if you can repeat whatever you said. Do you want me to re-ask the
Okay, what's the
question?
question?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Okay, the question
Question.
was, where do you see the
I
future of
might be.
senior living going in regards to the aging population?
Yeah, so that's still exciting, just as exciting as it was before. It's the, the growth that's going to happen is spectacular, and it's a big part of the reason, like I outlined before, that I chose to focus on this industry, because the silver tsunami, right, the baby boomer generation will double the demand for our product. And in terms of job security, what else could you ask for, right? From an industry perspective, taking a step back from myself, talk a little bit about the staffing shortage, and it's very real. It's kind of a somber thought that we continue to experience such a shortage. But I do think that on a more positive note, we have momentum, right? And we're gaining momentum or doing the right things to gain momentum in terms of the Vision Center in particular. The vision that you all have is it's important because we do need more young people in this to complement the veterans that we have in this industry, right? We have really strong leadership that has been in the industry for many years, and we need to build that pipeline so that it's there again in 20 years and in 30 years and so on and so forth. And with the emphasis on paid administrator and training programs and paid executive programs, these trainings that where we get to gain real experience and continue to understand the industry better, and at the same time develop a talent pipeline for the industry. I think that's exciting, and I think it's a reason to have hope. We just need to not let up, right? There are some
Mhm.
changes we need to make and some initiatives that we should kind of push forward. And as we do that, I think it's exciting. The growth is exciting.
That segues perfectly into my next question. So, speaking of that, what do you think would be beneficial of getting like high school and college leveled students more interested in senior living? That's one of like the main focuses of Vision Center because obviously most people kind of have that stigma of like, oh, I don't want to work with old people. So if you can get them while they're younger, they might be more inclined to be more open to that work path. So what do you think are some ways that that could be helped?
That's a great question, and I have a few thoughts on it. And I think that it comes down to two main, from for me in my mind, two main components. You have to meet people where they're at, right? And for our generation and the younger, even the people, if we look at it in grade school right now, right? It's crazy to think about it, but those are going to be our leaders. And so we have to meet people where they're at. And right now, that means in school and that means on social media. That's not going anywhere. So on the first front with school, I think the best thing that we can do to not only, you know, capitalize on the silver tsunami and on the growth that's going to happen, but it's not, it's, is to also at the same time as we're kind of accepting that in, but to usher in the new energy and the youth and the excitement. And you do that by meeting them in the schools first, right? And it's so fascinating. There are really good things going on right at this moment that we don't hear about as much, maybe because they're not as common as they should be. My significant other works in education, and she works with young children, and she talks about trips that they take to dementia units, right? And that's an incredibly valuable experience for the dementia resident, the resident with dementia, right? It invigorates, it helps with their physical health in a very real way, but it's also impactful for the young child, right? And it's one touch point out of what should be several touch points along the way.
Mhm.
And when I think of touch points along the way, obviously, as we grow up from 4 years old in preschool to 18 years in high school, those touch points change and they look different and they become more professional over time. And I think that, one thing that we need to do to help with the perception of senior living, or at least one thing that would be beneficial, is, and this is to take nothing away from nursing staff because those are the superheroes. Without them, I have no legs to stand on, right? I recognize that. Um, but right now, if in high school you had asked me about senior living, I would have said, I don't want to, do nursing work and I don't want to be down on the ground. And that's not the only thing available. So I think that having like shadowing partnerships, right, where students can go to a community and shadow the executive director or the marketing director or any number of other individuals who have, more of the behind the scenes work. I think that's a great opportunity and it familiarizes you with excitement, with, you know, the white collar side of the environment and kind of expands your horizons. And then again, like I said, I think that you need to get into the schools. I think you need to have job fairs. Um, and then social media. I am not a TikToker. I'm not big on any social media. But right now, the only place I see senior living is LinkedIn, and that's probably because I'm in the industry, right? So even there, it's kind of questionable. But we need to be on Instagram and we need to be on TikTok and whatever other apps come up along the way, because there will be more
Mhm.
to reach these individuals where they're at. And I think that's how you do it.
I actually really agree with that. I think also like explaining that it's not just to work in senior living is not just to like be an executive director or be a DON. There are so many other opportunities in other organizations. So I think, yeah, and putting that out on social media would definitely be helpful.
Right.
Um, why do you think that there are so many misconceptions about senior living?
I think it's because, and this might sound counterintuitive at first, but I think the number of misconceptions or the misconceptions that are spread primarily because we don't talk about it enough,
Hmm.
right? I mean, if there's misconceptions and you talk about it, maybe we're spreading them more, but I don't think that's the case. I think the more that we talk about senior living, the more that people will come to understand just how versatile it is, and that it's not just I'm responsible for an entire community or I'm responsible for hands-on care. There are
Hmm.
so many things in between, right? And I mean, how does a community function if there's no IT department, if there's no if there's no life enrichment department, right? And any number of other things. So I think that these misconceptions spread because we try to avoid talking about them, and instead of being afraid to talk about senior living because I don't want to put the image of incontinence in someone's head. Maybe I talk about senior living with excitement and for what it really is. So just don't avoid the subject. Talk about it, be ambassadors of it. I know not everybody wants to be the guy that or the person that goes home and talks to their friends about work and talks to, this person or that person about work. You want to have balance. But I think it's a good thing to, if you love your job, to go out there and to advertise that and to spread the word because we have a lot of good stuff going on.
Agreed. Um, do you think that those misconceptions are part of the reason why it is so hard to staff a senior living community?
I would certainly say so. And that goes for, I mean, it's hard to find our talent pipeline for leadership is dry, but also we're both familiar with the nursing crisis, right? And the nurses that are available are going to hospitals and to agencies, and those are honorable things, but we're left hanging a lot of times.
Hmm.
And I think that it is because people think about, oh no, I'm just going to be around people who complain all the time, and I have to, do all these unsung hero things, which is true. You don't get a lot of praise for the work that you do all the time, but when you do, and I've only been in the industry for a short time, but when you have a resident who is willing to share their thanks and their it has you on cloud nine for weeks at a time.
Hmm. What would you say has been the most impactful thing that you've done or that you've seen or heard in regard to senior living?
It's interesting because it feels like every there are so many different ways that you make an impact or that that the industry has an impact on you. Um, but I think that there are a couple of things that come to my mind. I'm going to talk about different for just a second, talk about a couple of different things that I've been able to contribute to, just to kind of show the depth and the breadth of the industry, the opportunities that we as young kids, I have plenty of friends who do great things, but they don't necessarily have the opportunities that we have because we're willing to put ourselves forward into this not always glorious industry. And one of the a few of the things that I've found impactful, one is that I was actually recently able to engage in a strategic planning process for Marquette, the community where I did my administrator training program.
Hmm.
And, I'm putting my head together with board members, residents, directors, and the whole community coming together, putting our heads together and outlining a vision, a united vision for the future of the community. And that's so intellectual, it's so visionary out there kind of, but it feels bigger than life. I've also been able to be boots on the ground involved in resident care plan meetings, which with particularly with rehab residents, right?
Hmm.
So someone comes in with some sort of need to progress their physical health, and we have many meetings with them and with their loved ones to talk about, hey, what are your needs, what are your goals, and how can we help you get there? And that process where I'm able to, and I can't take credit really for this. I worked with an incredible team. Our
Mhm.
our nursing staff, our therapy staff, and others who attended those meetings really, they had a way with people. They cared and it showed. And
Mhm.
I was there just to answer questions and address concerns from just the overall point of view. And when you do that and afterwards a family member, I will not forget the picture of a grieving family member coming up to our director of nursing and just giving her a hug and saying, "Thank you so much for the care that you gave to my mother."
Mhm.
And that's what it's about, right? That's the impact. And that doesn't always happen, but when it does, it sticks with you. So that's the big impact for me.
I agree. I think it's all the residents. That's the whole reason I wanted to do senior living.
Right. And
Mm.
and I'm sure you have plenty of experiences too, where it's just like, and maybe one or two, but it feels like one or two is enough to be
Mhm.
with you for a lifetime. It feels like,
Yeah, I've had a really good opportunity to meet a bunch of really good residents throughout the years. But
my goodness.
well, I wanted to say thank you to Trenton Klein, the interim administrator in Lubbock, Texas, for being a part of the first InVision podcast. And again, I'm Riley Tagatz, one of the interns at Vision Center. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.